Play at Novibet.
Hello and a warm welcome to another edition of the Irish Angle in association with Novibet. Now, as usual, I've Emma Nagel, Johnny Ward here. We're going to have a great chat, I hope, all about Fairyhouse over the weekend, which is the main talking point from the last week. Guys, welcome to the show.
Afternoon, Vinny.
Now, what did you make of it? Emma, first off, fantastic it was on, wasn't it? With all the drama over the weekend between everything. We even had fog yesterday, was it? And low-lying sun and freezing conditions and all the UK stuff more or less scuppered over the weekend. What did you make of Fairyhouse? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was brilliant. I was actually in Edinburgh over the weekend, but got home yesterday to watch it all live. I saw a few races on Saturday, but watched back the replays then as well. But yeah, massive job to get it on. Like, I'd say they must have put some work into it, especially like all the cancellations over the weekend. I presume it was very, very cold where I was at the weekend. It's probably similar enough in Fairyhouse. So yeah, it was a big effort to get it on, and like it was brilliant racing like the whole way through. Like, not even just the graded races. Like, there was so many, not even just Fairyhouse. Like, in the last week, the amount of good horses that have came out and made seasonal debuts, or big performances, even from Thurles on Thursday, going all the way through to yesterday's racing. Like, it's been a real treat, I'd say, for any jumps fans.
Oh yeah, I'm loving it, I have to say. I thought there were some fantastic, what turned into almost two horse races a lot of the time at Fairyhouse, particularly that it ended up just two horses were head and shoulders above the others on the day. Johnny, looking back, what was your highlight for you anyway out of the 2 days? Was there any particular horse stood out or a race that stood out for you?
Yeah, I think the Uppo, Vinny, to be honest. I think it was maybe the market slightly underestimated relative to the Imperial Pass. I found it a hard enough game to race the way up. But the Uppo, like, very good, fresh, obviously won the race. I think we've only had 3 winners of the race in 9 years, which is quite remarkable. But he's obviously very good, fresh, and I thought it was a good ride from Jack Kennedy in a tactical race. Imperial Passe for me was just a little bit fresh. I wouldn't be giving up on him at all. I think, coincidence or not, Willie's probably had more odds-on shots beaten in the last 2 weeks than probably any spell, I'd say, nearly in his career. It's just been kind of, some of them just falling short. I don't think he'd any real excuses, but Teopu was very, very good in a tactical race. And I think Jack Kennedy was my sort of performer of the weekend. He's had an amazing amount of injuries for his age, and I think he's riding exceptionally well. You forget how young he is as well. Gordon's horses are in great form, and like you say, as much as a lot of these were relatively small fields, they were cracking races. A lot of favourites beaten as well, and it was brilliant stuff at Fairyhouse. Like, I didn't think Saturday would go ahead. I was in Dublin for most of the week, and it has been very cold, so I was delighted that it went ahead. And then there was the doubt about Sunday as well out of the blue, because when you look at Carlisle yesterday with the complications of the race, and there is probably the smallest aggregate field sizes, I'd say, in a British race meeting that there ever has been, to 3 or 4 2-horse races. Obviously, racing called off today. Newcastle called off. Massive ground issues in England, and it was brilliant to get everything going ahead. And really enjoyed the weekend.
Yeah, and just one thing there you touched on was Willie Mullins. It's as if there's 2 yards there or something, is it, at the minute? Some of them are running fantastic and other ones are running terrible. It's like they're coming out of 2 different places. It's hard to see them all working together every morning, going around this big, deep gallop, and some of them are flying and others aren't. What do you make of it, Emma? You were down there a few weeks ago. It's just really odd. Is it the way some of them are running?
Yeah, I suppose, like, just the numbers he has, like the amount of good horses, like some of them aren't fully firing, but I suppose the law of averages, some of them are gonna still gonna do it. But yeah, you'd probably, if you were back in like a very fancied Mullins kind of hot pot, you'd probably be earing with a side of caution at the moment, because there is a few that just aren't. Like, I mean, he's had, like, it sounds crazy, like, because even Thurles on Thursday there, what did he have, 4 or 5 winners and some very, very impressive ones, but then the likes of Imperial Pass, who I thought he was a little bit disappointing, to be honest. Like, you're kind of waiting for him to come out and put in this performance that might put him in the champion hurdle picture. And, like, probably given maybe the Hatton's race is more of a stayers race, like, it's hard to see him, like, even being better than State Man now, to be honest. Where State Man's a brilliant horse, but you'd imagine, like, it's hard to see what's he going to do this season, really. I suppose, like, there obviously is going to be races for him, but probably maybe waiting for a superstar performance, and it didn't really deliver. Like, Tiupu was brilliant, but yeah, like, maybe he did underperform slightly, given some of Willie's are doing that. But definitely maybe not all fully firing from Cross Sutton yet, compared to Gordon anyway, who seems to be absolutely flying.
Yeah, Gordons are absolutely on fire, aren't they? Every horse he runs seems to run above itself. He even had a 1-2 in one of those at the weekend. The Hatton's Grace, was it? Not that. No, the Royal Bond. Sorry, the Royal Bond. The first and second in that Farron Glory and King of Kingsfield. King of Kingsfield at one stage last season was anti-post favourite for the Cheltenham Bumper. And before it even run, it was a real hot talking horse, never really produced it, and then all of a sudden produced what looked like a very good performance at the weekend with Farron Glory. Of course, Jack Kennedy picking the right one. Gordon said he'd 3 in it. He wasn't sure that Jack had picked the right one, but Jack, as you say, Johnny, he's riding out of his skin. Like, he's miles clear at the minute in this Jockey's Championship. I don't even scupper it now by saying anything about it, because he will, please God, eventually win it, because he certainly deserves it on his talent. But things haven't worked out for him so far, as you said, with all the injuries he's had. Looking back, let's go through just Saturday and Sunday particularly. One of your horses, Emma, on Saturday, Corbett's Cross. What did you make of that? Beats 3-card Bragg. They could be 2 fair horses. Well, they are 2 fair horses, I suppose.
I'd say the first 4 in that race are fair horses. It was, as far as beginner chases go, like, it was probably a graded contest and all but name. Corbett's Cross probably, in fairness, had the advantage of the run, which probably showed in the finish in particular. 3-card Bragg is a horse I think Gordon thinks a lot about him. Probably, like, as far as he can get, like, he'd probably be one for the 4-miler down the line, but a very good horse as well. And Monty Star was a promising novice last year, probably disappointed in the end. And Nick Rocket, I think, Willie fancies as well. So, like, I mean, to have 4 of them showing up in a beginner's chase, like, any time of the year is some spectacle. And yeah, it didn't disappoint anyway. Corbett's Cross, like, maybe the last day they probably used it as a bit educational. He was a bit keen and he jumped a bit funny that day. He relaxed a lot better today, and he actually, like, I think he only won by three parts of a length, but he was quite cozy in the end. Yeah, I'd be happy enough with that performance as a follower of the horse, and I'd imagine Emmett is pretty happy too. Like, beating horses of those quality, like, you can't, even with a run under his belt, it was a big performance, I thought.
Yeah, and then you talk about that. It certainly was a graded name and all but name, or graded race and all but name. And then we had the same in a maiden hurdle. Firefox, Ballyburn, Helvic Dream. Johnny, I think, well, this is my own opinion anyway, I think Firefox could be really good. What do you think?
Yeah, he's going to be my horse to follow from the week. One of these races, Vinny, where I suppose if you're betting on track, you're just praying for people to back something each way, because essentially only 2 horses can win. Even though you had Helvic Dream in the race, who was such a classy horse in the flat, obviously a bit late coming to this game. I didn't think he shaped badly, actually. Come to the second last, I thought he might get vaguely involved. He ended up being beaten 20 lengths, and that kind of looks very disappointing. But I thought there was something to take from the race. But when Helvic Dream is beaten 20 lengths in a maiden hurdle, what is he rated? 100 odd in the flat, whatever he's rated, and a horse who should have no issue staying. It just shows how good the race is. This was one of Willie's odds-on shots beaten, but again, I didn't think there were any excuses. Like, he's jumping when push came to shove at Ballyburn, he just wasn't able to jump quite well enough at the end. But I thought Firefox kind of had him in his pocket, and Firefox is a really good performance. I know we've Beckham Stud have invested an awful lot of money in some good horses with Gordon, and this fellow was always kind of very flashy, walking the park. 15 to 8 the first day. He's been kind of odds on or even money ever since, and has generally delivered. But I'm interested to see, will they step him up and trip, or will they go down the route of the Supreme, because he's loads of class, this horse, and he's probably not a million miles off sort of a Facile Vega type for the Supreme Novice this year. By the same sire, very well bred, very, very flashy horse, and has loads of potential going forward.
Yeah, Trip is a big question mark here, isn't it? Like, the first day Gordon ever ran him, he ran him in a 2.5 mile maiden hurdle, and he was nearest at the finish. Then he goes and runs in his bumpers and wins 3 of them, mainly over 2 miles, and one of them was 2 mile one. Then he goes 2 miles the weekend, and Gordon said, we think he's a 2.5 miler, so we were going to make the running with him and force the pace to try and make it a bit of a test of stamina against Ballyburn, which he did, and he wins. But he was very good over 2 miles, wouldn't you? You'd query how good could he be over 2.5 at this stage, because he looks real professional, jumps really well, does everything right. He's certainly a top class contender, whatever way you look at it. Anyway, moving on. There's a horse won there at the weekend, Solness, Joseph O'Brien. He'd some weekend, but the jockey on it, Connor Stone Walsh. What about him? A flat apprentice. I think he's only 17, and he goes and rode 23 winners during the flat season. was one of the stars that you've talked about already, Johnny, during the flat season, one of the rising stars of the game. His weight is getting a little bit big on him, or a bit much for him. So now he's gone from Joseph over to Gavin Cromwell. He rides his first horse in a jumps race Sunday of last week in Cork in a hurdle race and wins. Then he rides his first horse over fences at Fairyhouse, which is Solness, and wins. He could be a real talent. What do you think, Johnny?
Well, this is staggering. Like, it's not like he was riding a couple of odds-on shots or whatever. His first ride in a jumps race is in a hurdle race, and that, funnily enough, maybe your luck is kind of written in the stars a bit, because at the second last in that race in Cork, like the horse he was riding for Gavin, I think it was 11 or 12 to 1 shot, was practically taken out. A 4-year-old handicapper off the top of my head, and was practically taken out, but engineered a position, and he was. I remember interviewing him after the race, and I thought he really belied his years. Like, he's not kind of he's not flashy in interviews, but like, I was trying to think back when I was his age, like, could I be as cool and collected in normal life, not to mind after winning big races live on TV? And he was very assured in the way he spoke about the incident at the second last. But like, riding in a race like this, listed race with no experience over fences, Solness was definitely one of the more interesting horses in the race. There were a lot of kind of exposed types, and he had good form, albeit it was kind of hard to be too dogmatic about it. The way he rode so confidently. The horse kind of only arrived on the scene coming to the last, ends up winning by 6 lengths. The only problem Conor is going to have now, Vinny, is that his reputation is going to precede him, because this is a ridiculous start. I know it's only 2 races, but it's nearly an 80-90 to 1 double in terms of those 2 rides. And, you know, he was very good in the flat. If you see him at the race, you'll realise that his height's getting the better of him. But this is staggering. And like Joseph now, who obviously uses he's more of a flat trainer, but uses his share of national hunt jockeys. Gavin Cromwell now, who kind of spreads it around a bit as well. Keith Donoghue having a great run of it. The two of them are going to have a bit of a chat here. It's like, because we want to use this lad's claim. And as I say, the only problem we'll have now is everyone will be expecting to win every race.
Yeah, he'll pick up lots of rides in Gavin's anyway, won't he? Because as we know, his main jockey, Keith Donoghue, can't do less than 11 stone 2. So there's plenty of opportunity for him to be claiming off some of the lighter weights. One other thing there from Saturday that particularly of note is Jalon Dudare. It's a Gigginstown horse that costs 420,000 sterling after winning a point-to-point. What you make of that, Emma? It looked a fair horse. Harry Swan rode it for Gordon Elliott, trained it. Won very well, didn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the race that's named after Gordon's uncle. Is it Willie Elliott? Right. So I think Gordon normally tries to save a good horse for it. And yeah, he was very, very impressive. He's obviously a horse with a big reputation. He had a fairly big price tag, I think, as well, coming from the point-to-point. So look, very impressive winner. Like, you could say of so many of Gordon's bumper horses, kind of hard to pick any of them out. But so far, so good for him. I think like a few of them with the big price tags, was the one in the bumper yesterday evening had a big price tag, very disappointing. So it's kind of hard to predict. You know, you see these like 500,000 point-to-pointers coming. I don't know how much this fella cost, but it was pretty high price, I think. And you see them coming, and you know, some of them perform, some of them don't. But like, in fairness, this fella obviously shown a lot when Gordon sent him to this race. I think they were saying they got a box for the family in Fairyhouse yesterday as well. So they had a great weekend of it, and I'd say he just topped the cherry off on Saturday.
Yeah, he cost 420,000 sterling at that Cheltenham sale. He was a winner of a 4-year-old point-to-point. He got 6,300 back out of that at the weekend. He's a long way to go, hasn't he? To get back his purchase price. But look, we talk about that often enough. Anyway, move on to Sunday, because there's a race I really want to talk about here. One I thought was fantastic was the Juvenile Hurdle. This is the race that was won last year by Lossie Mouty, but the likes of Phil Dore has won it in the past. Other good horses have won it too. We'd Nürburgring for Joseph O'Brien, one of his 3 winners of the weekend, beats Calaconte. There's 18 lengths back to the third. The other thing to note in this juvenile race, I don't know how significant this is because you can't really take times into account, but the race was run 2 seconds quicker than Farron Glory in the Grade 1 later in the day. Now, admittedly, you know, times aren't a pinch of salt most of the time, but it certainly makes it look like there's some quality and depth in the front 2 here. What did you make of that, Emma? That Nürburgring came off the flat, had won in Killarney, I think it was, early in the summer. Then it showed wayward tendencies when it got beaten on the second start at Listowel over hurdles. Got disqualified that day for interference. Then a Stewart's inquiry again with Calaconte because it drifted the other way. It drifted left, I think, down in Listowel. It drifted right after the last on Sunday. But looks a good one. I think these are 2 very good horses. That's what I think. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I'd say he's fairly quirky, I'd say, now Burring for Joseph. I think in his 3 starts so far, he's kind of he loves to get into a battle anyway, but it looks him it's been about half a length or a head between him and all the starts. Look, got overturned in the stewards room, I think, wasn't it, when he beat Woodoo in the stole. And Woodoo and Calaconte, two juvenile hurdling mares for Gordon, he found those very hard to split, so it's probably just confirmation of that form, I suppose, more than anything else. But he's definitely wayward, but I think he was gelded. I'm not sure, was it after the last run or after the Killarney one? I think it was after the run in the stole. They might have gelded him, which might help him a bit. He didn't maybe look quite as awkward as he was in previous starts, but yeah, I think I remember him going to Killarney, and there was kind of rumours that he was quite a good horse. They kind of fancied him, and yeah, he's proven it so far. He was rated in the 90s on the flat. I think Gordon's mare is a good mare as well. I think like there was a few horses were quite fancy coming into this. Willie's completely blew out Batman Girac, came with a big reputation from France, pulled way too hard, and Martin Brazel had one that was a little bit fancied as well. But like the Fun 2 pulled it off a long way clear, and like it was probably one of the like there was so many good races over the weekend, but it was one of the best races of the weekend. I thought like the finish got up in the dying strides. And for Richie Deegan as well, I think it was his first winner of the year, which is crazy to think about. He's obviously been suffering from a few injury problems, but nice to see him get the winner in the graded race as well. But yeah, it was some performance, I thought, from him, and it'll be interesting to see how high he can go in the juvenile rankings, because although he didn't win by too far, I'd say he's probably a horse who's quite quirky, and he maybe he just enjoys the battle of it.
Yeah, might be a few quirky ones in that besides him. That man Girac, see, he wore a hood first time out, as you said. He was very keen. Then he hung across the track, turned into the straight. I don't know. I'm sure Willie will sort him out eventually, but at the moment, you'd be putting a little squiggle against him for the time being anyway. And then moving on to that Royal Bond with Farron Glory, King of Kingsfield, Untubber. Not a bad horse that either, I think. And Bailey Stock. What did you make of that, Johnny?
Yeah, it was again, I thought it was a hard race to solve because Untubber was made favourite, but like everything about him suggests he definitely wants a trip, and like maybe you can get away with this to an extent. And in his maiden hurdle, it was a slowly run race. I actually, like you say, I think he is a very good horse. I didn't think he shaped badly. Just didn't quite have the pace to go with him from the second last. But stepping up and trip, I could see him run well in a good race at Cheltenham over further. Yes, I definitely see them stepping him up in trip. But like What's Up Darling was beaten 4 lengths further back. Very good horse. Facile Mode has a lot of ability as well. Travelled well at the second last. So I wouldn't crab the form that much. I'd crab the form a bit in the juvenile race because of the disappointments that Emma mentioned. But Farron Glory, he was very good the last year. But this is a very good performance. King of Kingsfield now kind of finally, I suppose, redeeming the reputation that he had. And Cantor Bruno was obviously disappointing. I find it hard to know what to make of the race going forward, in the sense of will any of these be proper supreme candidates? Maybe not, but another very, very good ride, I thought, by Jack Kennedy.
Yeah, he was very good. I would tend to agree with you. I think they're all nice horses and everything else. I don't think there's a star in that field somehow. I'll be surprised if there is. If it comes along now in Cheltenham and you see that 2 or 3 of them are contenders for some of the big Grade 1 races, I'll be very surprised. But anyway, moving on. I think this is another one. The Drinmore. The market got this all wrong. They're just in the end. Like again, it's like every week I say this. When you, with the benefit of hindsight, you look back and you say, how was I a Maximus an 11-1 chance? Like he's rated 158. He's an Irish Grand National winner over the same course. I'm really struggling with it, and he's running in a novice. Last day he could run as a novice. That's a bit of an odd one, isn't it? That an Irish Grand National winner can come out the following season and win a novice race. But anyway, what did you make of that, Emma? I am Maximus. It was some performance, considering all things considered, over the trip particularly.
Yeah, look, massive performance. I suppose like he was probably that price. The question mark was probably like, was he going to be quick enough for the 2.5 miles, given like he won the Irish National here over 3 mile 5 in his last start. But like it was some placing by Willie, in fairness. Like his last day as a novice to win a Grade 1 novice chase was some feat. But like I suppose let's be clear about was the favourite. Like you said, hindsight maybe, like he was rated a lot lower than these over hurdles, than a few of these over hurdles. Sharjah was probably a bit disappointing, didn't let down on the ground, I suppose, probably a bit soft for him. But I think you can't really take too much away from the winner, I am Maximus. Like he's got an awful lot more experience than the over fences than the other lads obviously winning the Irish National. And I think like Jody McGarvey, is this like whatever it is, he seems to ride some of these. It's kind of maybe harsh to call him enigmatic kind of chasers for Willie. Like I think he used to ride Gentleman to Me, and if there's like a JP horse who jumps a bit funny and they're a bit awkward, Jody McGarvey seems to do a great job with him, and I think he did a great job with this fella as well. He's not the most straightforward horse. Like I think Paul had to give him a brilliant ride to win the national, but he's obviously extremely talented. And maybe you might pigeonhole him as being a slow horse, having won the national, but like he's obviously won with an awful lot of ability if he can get it right on the day. He ran a few okay races in novice grade ones last year, but maybe he's just maturing. He's still only a 7-year-old, I suppose. Like he's still a young horse. What he can go on and do this year now is it's very hard to say he'll go on and compete in these top 2.5 mile like open company chase, because he's a bit of a funny horse. I wouldn't mind seeing Jody staying on him though. Like obviously Paul gets on very well, but he might have bigger horses to be on. And I thought Jody just got on very well with him and got the absolute most out of him. Like I don't think it was probably the best grade 1 novice chase. Like it probably wasn't a vintage Drinmore, but it was an enjoyable spectacle. So at the same time, I thought.
I couldn't believe he won the Irish National, Vinny, because I remember the day he was beaten at Fairyhouse, first time out when he went off 4-6. I really fancied Manila Crooner, and Ian Maximus should have won, but he jumped violently left at the last two, and then he sort of went left-handed twice at Leopardstown, Cheltenham, beaten both times. When he went back to Fairyhouse, 3 miles 5 by authorised, jumps left. I was like, hey, this lad hasn't a hope. He ended up winning the Irish National, and you saw the race on Saturday. Like he's a very strange action, which actually Willie commented on after as well when you see the head on. But I'm like you, in hindsight, there's no way this horse, you said he was 11-1, he was available a good bit bigger than that as well, and I tipped up the favourite, and in hindsight, like I got this completely arseways, because the favourite, as you say, inferior over hurdles. What he beat at Cork is questionable. He was priced based on kind of the aesthetics of that rather than Anthony Nelson. It was one of those races where hindsight was really kind of everything, when you think there's no way this horse win that price. Never be afraid to back a Willie Mullen second string in a race like that either.
Yeah, and the other ones, an awful lot of people were fancying Sharjah for this, but like we know Willie can produce miracles at all times, but like a 10-year-old going chasing and everything else, it just didn't seem like one for me. He never made the grade really over hurdles, in the sense that, look, Sharjah's won plenty of races and all the rest, but has never been tip-top class. You'd wonder, going at this late stage to chase him, was it ever going to be tip-top class? But I think we're proved now after this somewhat. Okay, we can say the ground didn't suit and everything else, but you can pick a lot of holes in that race, can't you? With let's be clear about it, with Sharjah, found a 50. He's won now. Just in general terms, I wasn't sure what to make of him. But Gordon has always thought a lot of him. What did you make of him, Johnny? Is he one that could win a grade 1 at some stage?
Yeah, maybe. Like, and in fairness, he's versatile regarding trip. His form with Corbett's Cross last year is very solid. I thought he jumped pretty well, maybe not quite as well as Let's Be Clear About It. But I don't know, the finishing effort of Let's Be Clear About It was so tame. It makes me wonder maybe what he achieved. So I'd probably have a bit of a watch and brief in that regard.
Yeah. And I am Maximus, Emma, just as finally on that. What do you do if you're Willie Mullins? Where do you run that horse this year? They were talking about the English National was the long-term plan. That's probably out the window now, is it?
Yeah, I have, like, where does he go is a brilliant question. I was trying to think about this before we came on. Like, he obviously has the ability of a grade 1 horse, but he's just so funny. Like Johnny said, like he jumps all kinds of ways, and like to win the Irish National was some achievement. The English National probably might be out the window now, but like at the same time, like this race, like it wasn't like a proper grade 1 chase. Like you were saying, Let's Be Clear About It was like around 130, high 130s as a hurdler. What did he really beat? I suppose at the same time, like I don't really think Found a 50 is a proper grade 1 horse. Probably a grade 2, grade 3 kind of horse. I am Maximus. Yeah, look, it was fair placing to get him the grade 1 novice chase in his last day as a novice. So I'm sure they'll have something in the pipe works for him.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Back over hurdles, maybe. Probably very well rated over hurdles if they went back and had a look. Anyway, just one other race to the big one then, Tihupu Impere Pass. Johnny, you've already talked about that, but Emma, what did you make of it? Just in general terms, Impere Pass, definitely disappointing, is it? Because we like, but we're talking here about a horse that could be the second coming here. We think it's the only potential danger. I did anyway, and I think a lot of people did, to Constitution Hill in the Champion Hurdle. But you have to be scratching your head now after that, do you?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of, I suppose, when you heard the decision that he was going to stay over hurdles, you were kind of thinking maybe this fella might step up and become like maybe a possible contender to Constitution Hill. But I mean, on that performance, really, you can't really see him being properly involved in a champion hurdle picture. I can't imagine him beating Stateman at the moment, never mind Constitution Hill. Look, maybe I'm being a little bit harsh on him, but Tiupu's a very good horse, but like Tiupu's a 3 miler. If he's getting beat by him over 2.5 miles, he probably isn't going to have the pace to win a champion hurdle, like, if you're being very harsh about it. But maybe he'll improve for it. He's still a young horse. But overall, I was a bit disappointed by him, to be honest. Like, I really loved the performance from Tiupu, though. Like, he's just a horse. He puts his ears back and his head down and he grinds it out. And I think Jack Kennedy said he improved a lot as well since last year. I suppose, like, Tiupu seems like he's been around for a long time, but he is also another young horse in the field, and maybe a little bit unlucky in last year's stairs. But the ground for Tiupu is the only thing about him. He needs soft ground, and that doesn't always work out for him in the big races kind of towards the end of the year. But he's a horse I really like, and probably one that's maybe a little bit underrated. He's a real kind of likable. He tries hard, and he's not slow for a 3 miler, but he just races, and he's able to stay 3 miles because of how kind of laid back and relaxed he is, I'd say.
Yeah, there's one thing, Johnny, for you around Tiupu. Right, let's say you own or train Tiupu. He needs soft ground is the first thing. He's obviously a very good horse. He needs soft ground. The other thing is he runs best fresh, seems to be the case. So Gordon is talking about here of maybe putting the horse away till Cheltenham. Just go stairs, next run. That's highly unlikely he's going to get the ground, is it? That's the first thing. In Cheltenham in March, we tend not to have very soft ground for there. So will that suit him? Is that a good plan, do you think?
I don't think you can predict ground, to be honest. Like, I was at Cheltenham not that long ago and it was heavy on day one. And like, you see the situation with ground at the moment where, as you mentioned, there's all kind of everything. But at the same time, I would agree with you. I mean, Cheltenham's not the be all and end all. This horse has a clear preference for this type of ground. I would, now maybe Gordon knows him well enough to say maybe that last season, the way they campaigned him, maybe he thinks he wasn't at his best at Cheltenham. But for me, he was really exemplary at Gordon in the Galmoy. I thought he was brilliant on that day. I would train him where, I mean, you'd be confident enough you get that sort of ground in the Galmoy, bad ground. I would train him with the view to, when the ground is soft, run him in those sort of races, because you can't guarantee that Cheltenham isn't the be all and end all. But then again, I don't train horses.
There you go. That's the reason you don't train. Yeah, work it out now. All right, go on. Listen, we've gone through most of those races anyway from the weekend. Looking ahead, we've got some big racing again this weekend. We've got the Hillyway Chase in Cork Sunday. I presume you'll be down for that one, Emma, one of your local tracks. And we've also got the Sandown Tingle Creek meeting. Fighting Fifth has also been rescheduled to that as well. So you'd never know what we're going to see by the end of the week. Let's hope those race meetings go ahead, because obviously we've started off on the wrong foot. One other thing I just wanted to mention from last week, which I thought was somewhat interesting, or certainly interesting, is Sam Curling sent 2 horses last Monday over to Ludlow. Both well backed, both win. I think the bumper one, Meta Kayina, could be quite useful. That looked a fair race, and you won a Mark Prescott's, a rare bumper runner for him as well, that disappointed the first day, but the two of them pulled a long way clear. I'd say that could be fair form. And if there's plenty of Irish horses as well due to run during the week in the UK. So look at our Irish runners abroad on the website. Keep an eye on them, because they do often be fancied when they're sending them over. Right, last thing is horses to follow from the week. Emma, have you got one for us that you think might win?
There's a lot of them I'd say you probably could say will win. I'm going to go for Thurles on Thursday. I thought there were so many good performances, but I'll probably go with Daddy Longlegs in the maiden hurdle. I thought he was fairly taking. One with a big reputation. He cost a lot of money coming from France for Willie. And, he beat a good field there, and he beat them very, very easily. Like, there's been a lot of hype around different horses in maiden hurdles, but I thought this fella was probably as take as you can get. And I'm going to mention one more that was maybe beaten, Home My Lord, in the beginner's chase. A horse, I think he's only run 3 or 4 times over fences, beaten by Ilete Tomp, but I thought he was very, very good. He was actually not a great jumper of hurdles, but he was brilliant over fences, and I'd say he's probably one to follow in the JP colours.
Very good. Johnny, what about you?
I'll give Firefox Vinny. I'm taking a horse that only won a maiden hurdle, but I think it was one of those graded races masquerading as a maiden over the weekend. There were a few, as Emma mentioned, you go back to third, some cracking jumps race in Ireland of late, and I thought Firefox absolutely oozed class. And as you say, maybe he'll even stay 3 miles, in which case he could be exceptionally good.
Yeah, he could, couldn't he? Yeah, I'd agree with him, but I'm going to give a slightly different one. I'm going to give Cala Conte, same yard. That this filly, I think it's a fair performance. She was given £4, or well, she had a £4 penalty for winning 2 hurdles going into that race, so she was £4 worse off with Nuremberg Ring than you would expect. Did the donkey work out in front, and the pair of them ended up 18 lengths clear of the third. I'd be surprised if Cala Conte isn't very good. Anyway, and the winner probably is too. Look, that's it for this week. Hopefully we'll have more to chat about next week, and hopefully we'll be talking about good horses that have won again. Great stuff. And do join us next week, and make sure to subscribe to our channel to follow all the other shows that will be coming throughout the week. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.